Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am your English instructor and welcome to my English coaching class. Currently we are at unit number 13, an eyewitness account of devastating flood. Today's lecture is lecture number 4A and the competency that we are targeting through this lecture is reading and critical thinking. Our today's topic is use of common punctuation. Before jumping on to the topic, let's have a look at the SLO first. Use common punctuation cues to aid comprehension when reading. For example, comma, full stop, exclamation mark, colon, dash, parenthesis, slash, ellipsis. So, in this SLO, different punctuation cues or different punctuation marks have been talked about. There is comma, there is full stop, there is exclamation mark. Now we'll learn about these punctuation marks one by one. Here is the vertical linkage. And in the vertical linkage, you can see you have already learnt about comma, full stop, semicolon, exclamation mark and apostrophe. So, can you please tell me about 5 different punctuation marks? Can you think of them? Exactly. Use of common punctuation. Let's begin. Punctuation plays a crucial role in making writing clear and engaging. Using these punctuation cues effectively can enhance the clarity and readability of your writing. Here's a brief rundown of common punctuation marks and their functions. So, why do we use punctuation? In order to make our writing more effective and more comprehensible. अगर हम इन punctuation marks का गलत इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो हमारे पूरी की पूरी text का context ही बदल जाएगा. That is why it is inevitable to use the punctuation marks quite minutely and observably. अब हम इनके बारे में देखते हैं one by one. सबसे पहले है comma. Used to separate items in a list, clauses in a sentence or to set off additional information. So, why do we use comma? When we are supposed to make a list and in order to separate those items or those articles in the list, we use comma. And of course, in order to separate the clauses, the different clauses, maybe the subordinate clause or the coordinating clause, we use comma. Next, full stop indicates the end of a sentence. Why do we use full stop? When we complete a sentence, we use full stop. Also, in order to make the abbreviation of a word, we also use full stop. Next is colon. Introduces a list, explanation or example. So, जब हमने किसी चीज़ की लिस्ट बनानी है और उस लिस्ट के डिफरेंट आइटम्स को हमने एक्सप्लेन करना है या फिर उन डिफरेंट आइटम्स को हमने लिस्ट डाउन करना है, उसके लिए हम क्या यूज़ करते हैं? कॉलन यूज़ करते हैं. So, use of colon. Now we will learn in detail about the usage of column. Let's see. It is used in script writing or dialogue. For example, John, here you can see colon, what are you doing here? Mostly you have seen that in dialogue writing or in script writing, we use colon when one character speaks to the other character. Next is introducing an explanation or summary. For example, the reason is simple. He forgot to set his alarm. Here you can see the usage of colon. Why do we use that? In order to explain the sentence, we use colon. Next is in titles. For example, The Great Gatsby, a classic novel. Why do we use colon in titles? In order to separate main title from the subtitle. So here, The Great Gatsby is the main title and a classic novel is its subtitle, which is separated from using colon. In time notation, for example, the meeting is at 3 p.m. जब भी हमने टाइम नोटेशन को लिखना होता है तो उसको लिखने के लिए हम कॉलन का इस्तेमाल करते हैं. In ratios, for example, the ratio of water to flour is 2 to 1. So in order to show ratios, we also use colon. This is your classroom activity. Colon to introduce a list of themes. So in this classroom activity, you will learn about different uses of colon. Let's have a look at them. Use a colon to introduce an item or a series of items. Do not capitalize the first item after the colon unless it is a proper noun. So, when we are supposed to make a list of different items, we use colon and we do not capitalize those items segregatedly unless they are proper noun. You know what to do. Practice. You may be required to bring many things: sleeping bags, pans, utensils, and warm clothing. So, here, what does this colon indicate? It is indicating the different items that are being used. I want the following items: butter, sugar, and flour. Again, you can see that colon is used to list down different grocery items. I need an assistant who can do the following: input data, write reports, and complete text forms. Next is, I want an assistant who can do the following: input data, write reports, complete text forms. So, here you can clearly see how do we use colon. Avoid using a colon before a list of it directly follows a verb or preposition that would ordinarily need no punctuation in that sentence. I want butter, sugar, and flour. This is incorrect. I want butter, sugar, and flour. That is correct. So, keep this rule always in mind while using colon. Colon to introduce a quote. Use a colon if the introduction is an independent clause and you should start the quotation with a capital letter. For example, the guides always gave the same advice: leave them alone and they will leave you alone. The guides always gave the same advice is an independent clause. She offered her a piece of advice: don't drink the water. She offered her a piece of advice is an independent clause. So capitalize the first word after a colon if the information following the colon requires two or more complete sentences. Did you get that? If the sentence that is being used after the colon is conveying complete sense, then you can use capitalization. Next example is, Dad gave us these rules to live by: hard work, be honest, always show up on time. If a quotation contains two or more sentences, many writers and editors introduce it with a colon rather than a comma. For example, Dad often said to me, work hard, be honest, always show up on time. Next is your homework. Write down 10 sentences using colon in your notebook. Here we have provided a simulation for you for your further and comprehensive understanding. Also, here is the skill sheet that you can do to practice different punctuation cues at home. Apart from these, you can also have access to the lesson plan, the question bank, and the skill sheet of this lecture. Thank you so much.